There seems to be so much mysticism around therapists and therapy in general. Many people feeling like therapists themselves are really elusive, and we don't really know what they do. They're almost like the Wizard of Oz hiding behind a curtain, pulling levers, making things happen. Seems so secret and so magical. But the truth about therapists, obviously, I am one. We're just regular people just like you. We have good days, we have bad days. Some of us are good at our jobs, others really suck. Some of us work extremely long hours and see a ton of patients. Others are very specific and only see a certain type of struggle in their patients. Either way, today's video is all about what we think and what goes on behind the scenes you seem to want to know. So let's get into it, and there are so many new people on the channel. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to the community. Make sure you're subscribed and you have your notifications turned on, because I put out videos every Monday and Thursday, and I don't want you to miss out. But let's just jump into today's topic. Now, the first question that I want to address is, what do we do between patients? Many of you have asked me this. Why is it a 50-minute hour instead of an hour long? What is with that? 10 minutes. Why do I pay for an hour, and I only get 50 minutes? I hear that all the time. And the truth about it is we don't run like trains. We're not all on schedule. People don't show up on time. We can't just, let's say our appointment's at 1 o'clock at 150. I can't be like, okay, well that's it, time to get out. That's kind of rude. It's really hard. Sometimes we're wrapping things up. Sometimes we're talking about homework. Sometimes we're trying to gather ourselves so that we can leave without crying. So in therapy, it doesn't just run on this strict schedule. So those 10 minutes gives us a little buffer to wrap things up, take payment, write the notes that we need to write, maybe eat, maybe pee because, we're human, fill up our water, get more coffee. I might also have to make a call to your psychiatrist or other treatment team members to keep them up to date on what's going on with you. There's a lot to do in that 10 minutes, and frankly, to be quite honest, I never get it all done. I'm always like ending sessions. Let's say I'm finishing up, all of my clients by 6 p.m. There's always at least an hour afterwards where I'm like, finishing up notes, making sure super bills are going out, making sure calls are getting made, emails returned, etc., because I don't have an office manager. Most therapists don't. It's just me. So when I'm all done, I have to catch up on all those things that didn't get done in those 10 minutes because trust me, they go by like the second and most asked question is, what do therapists really think during session? And it kind of makes me laugh because I don't even know if, even as a therapist, if I know what my therapist is thinking because everyone's going to be different. But I'll give you kind of a rough idea of what's going through our heads session after session. And as I'm sure you've realized, or I hope now you'll realize, we as therapists, because we're outside of a situation, and we're not emotionally involved in it, we realize so many things way before our patients. Do you know that shitty relationship you're in that? You just can't figure out why it doesn't work. We probably already know, we realized it. We also hate that relationship. Wish you get out of it and try to help you find your way there. We may all recognize that, hey, the way that you're responding seems a lot like your mom, and that's tied into the fact that your dad was this way, and then your uncle did this. We see a lot of that way before you do, and what that really means is, and this is why I actually love being a therapist, is instead of getting frustrated, because bad therapists would get frustrated, and they would try to push you to that objective or to that realization more quickly than you're ready. But a good therapist, and what I hope I am is a good therapist, is, we're kind of patient with it, and I see it kind of like, I'm a detective or, and this sounds really weird to say it this way, but maybe I'm like the criminal, and I'm leaving clues behind so that you can find all the evidence you need to guide you back to what I know, and what I've figured out. And of course you're going to do that at your own time. And so it's kind of up to me to make sure that I'm leaving all the proper evidence to get you there. But yeah, we realize a lot of stuff way ahead of time, and we're just kind of waiting for you to catch up. We also notice everything. Do you make eye contact? Do you struggle to make eye contact? Do you fidget a lot? Do you pick at your nails? Do you flap your foot around? Do you like to lay on the couch and put your hand over your face? Do you like to sit on the very edge of your seat? I used to have this client that I can almost guarantee that in like 2 years I saw her back, never touched the back of my couch. She had an anxiety disorder. And so it was very obvious, but we have to notice all of that. We have to notice all the fidgets, all the things that happened so that A, I can tell if my diagnosis is really correct. B, if you struggle with dissociation, I can know when you're going there and when that's happening, and C, I can also make sure that the treatment that you're getting, let's say you're on medication as well, is it working? Are the behavioral techniques that I'm giving you making things better? Are the fidgets and the urge to move all the time, is that stuff going away? It can really help for me to pay attention. And so really, and I think Sean also says this to me a lot, I'd make a great detective. Maybe that's why I like all those analogies, but it's really helpful for me to pay attention. And so know that whether you like it or not, your therapist is noticing everything. Moving on to the third question. And about what therapists really do is, what the heck do you write in all of those notes? And the truth is, and I've talked about this a little bit in other videos, it's not very exciting stuff. The first is diagnosis stuff. What are the symptoms? What are kind of the things that we're noticing? The behavioral things? Are they fidgeting? Do they move a lot? Do they struggle to make eye contact? Do they dissociate? What is it? So all of that has to be documented. That's usually done in our intake form, where we're noting what brought you in, what symptoms you're feeling, and all of that. But throughout our notes, our progress notes with you, each and every session, there will be things noted in there about your diagnosis to honestly make sure it's correct. The next thing that goes in our notes is like logistical stuff. Medication. When was your last appointment with your psychiatrist? What medications are you on? How much? How often are you liking it? Etc. The next is like, when did you see your doctor last? Did we get the blood work from that? Did everything look really good? Are we following up? Did we make calls to them? What about your weight? I see a lot of eating disorder patients. So I have to weigh them regularly, and I check in with our diet, and we see if the weight is the same, because people try to be sneaky and make themselves weigh more as a way to say they're getting better when they're really not. But we kept you, and so all of that's really important. And so I have to take note of that so that I can kind of track it through our treatment, and make sure that all of our goals and all of the, tools and tips and tricks I'm offering for you are actually helpful and in line with where you're at, and on that same line then runs into homework. What are some of the things that we're working on? Have they been completed or not? Were you able to or not? Are you committed to treatment or not? A lot of that goes into our notes because I have to know what I'm following up on them in between sessions. I don't even think I mentioned. This is that I read the last, maybe 1 or 2 session notes, like all the progress notes I took, so that I make sure I remember where we were at, what we were talking about, and what homework you had, because then I need to follow up on it, to make sure that it's getting done and that it's appropriate. And also as ACBT and DBT-based therapist, I have a lot of treatment plans going on. So there are those treatment plans, and I like to think of them as living, breathing documents, meaning they change all the time. So I may have a sheet on one side of my file, I always have those files open pure, and on this side would be a treatment plan, and I just mark on it, as of the date we're doing this, instead done with that check in that box. And I'm working along. And so, I have to keep up with where we're at and working towards the goals that you and I have discussed, to make sure that you're really getting out of therapy what you need to get out of it. Overall, no books are extremely dry. They're not written like a story. You can't follow them along and feel like you know somebody. It's more something that we do legally and ethically, to make sure that you're getting the proper care and that we're doing all the things we're supposed to do. I don't recommend, as you remember, I've said this before. I don't recommend getting all of your files and reading them through. It can be really upsetting, really triggering. And also you can feel like a lot is left out because it is. We can't write everything down. It's mainly just logistical stuff. Like I said, the medication and what symptoms are you showing? How are you doing? Did you do your homework? What's your weight? Are you feeling better? How's the treatment plan? It's very, kind of bullet pointed. And so overall, the main reason notes even exist, and the main reason to keep these is for legal and ethical purposes, as well as to make it easier for you to transition to other treatment programs, or to get referrals to other professionals as needed. And the fourth question that many of you wanted me to talk about is, do we think about our patients in between sessions? And I'd be lying if I said no. We're humans too. We care about you. I didn't spend all this time in school and all that time gathering hours, not to mention stressing over the licensing exam, and then continuing to learn about what I want to do each and every year so that I can continue to be licensed just for shits and giggles. I did it because I care about people. And when I take a client on, I do it because I feel that I can help them, and I think together we can work towards their goals. So overall, of course, I'm gonna think about my clients in between sessions, because I'm looking for new ways to help them. I want you to do well. I want you to feel better. I want you to get better in the quickest and easiest way possible. And so if I'm at a different conference, let's say, learning about something, and something pops up that I think could help my client, of course, they're going to be in the back of my mind always if I'm reading a book, and it's a tip that's helpful to me personally. And I think, oh, I could probably apply that to so and so, that might really help. Or even if I'm watching a TV show and I see someone doing something and I think, oh, they could do that. So of course it'd be a lie to say that we don't think about patients in between sessions. But that isn't to say that we're available all the time. And I know that this seems like a strange transition. But boundaries are so important. If you see a therapist who lets you call and text them and email them all the time, and there's no boundaries, there's no talk about what's appropriate and what's not, it's not okay. Therapists are taught so much in school to be very protective of that boundary to keep you safe and to keep us safe. And the reason it keeps you safe is it keeps the relationship therapeutic. If we get too close, it changes the dynamic and it becomes like a friendship, which isn't actually as helpful because, as you know, if you've been in therapy for any length of time, there are going to be times when a therapist has to push you a little and give a little bit of that tough love. And in a friendship doesn't really work out. And on the therapist side, it protects us. Boundaries are important because it keeps us from burning out overall. Just know that therapists are people too, just like you. The only difference is that you come to see us and we are trained to help you and guide you through things. And so know that everything that goes on between sessions and our mind during sessions, if we're good at our job and if we're invested, should be all about helping you, all about moving you towards your goals in the best way possible. Just make sure that you like your therapist, you feel connected to them, and you know that they're on your side. And that's truly when the magic and mysticism of therapy can take place. I hope we found this video helpful. This was actually really fun to think about. And it took me a while to put the video together because it's just something that I hadn't honestly thought of. But let me know in the comments. What are other things you want me to talk about, other subjects? You want to know what a therapist thinks or what we do or how it works? Let me know and I will see you next time. Bye.